I am a coach and an alum of Girls on the Run. Kids today carry a lot of stress, from school pressure to social isolation to overuse of devices. We create a space where girls can connect, build confidence, and learn skills like managing emotions, setting goals, and speaking up. Each child's experience is different, and families need support. I'm proud to be part of a comprehensive solution to youth mental health. Get involved today at empowerourfuturecoalition.com.
Hey, I'm Jamie East, and today's episode of The Smart 7 is brought to you by Sainsbury's, where you can save big on festive favourites with Nectar prices. With Christmas just around the corner, it's more important than ever to find value for money on your festive shop. And if you want to be the host or hostess with the mostess, you need Christmas magic from Sainsbury's. That means great discounts to make your festive season truly magical. For example, this week you can get 3 for 2 on all Sainsbury's party food with Nectar prices, including taste the difference treats like 8 mini Wagyu beef cheeseburgers, 8 crispy chicken bayo buns, or 12 crispy mushroom tartlets. You can shop in-store or online and save big on festive favourites this Christmas with Nectar prices at Sainsbury's. That's good food for all of us. This offer's for 18 plus, terms and conditions apply. Offer ends 31st of December, 3 for 2 on all Sainsbury's party food, cheapest product free. Nectar required, available in-store and online, excluding locals. Delivery fees may apply and subject to availability.
It's Christmas Day, Thursday, the 25th of December. I'm Trish Laverty, and today's episode is part of the Smart 7's review of 2025. Today, we're looking at the biggest stories from January and February when Donald Trump took charge of the White House. Russia's war on Ukraine rumbled on. We saw a ceasefire in Gaza. Award season dominated the headlines.
Grab a cup of something hot, put up your feet, and get up to speed on the 7 biggest stories of the week. This is the Standout 7 from the Smart 7.
It's news,
But not the news.
January 6th has become a date with huge significance in the American political calendar, but in 2025 the confirmation of Donald Trump passed off without any drama. There were no protesters or attempts to interfere with the process, and the whole thing wrapped up in 30 minutes as defeated presidential candidate Kamala Harris as President of the Senate confirmed her rival's election. Donald Trump's official inauguration was set for January 20th, and Harris said she's proud to have done her job as required.
Today, I did what I have done my entire career, which is take seriously the oath that I have taken many times to support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
Even as Trump progressed to the presidency, he had some tidying up to do, appearing on Zoom in a New York court to hear from Judge Merchan on his sentencing over the 34 felon counts he was convicted of around hush money payments to porn star Stormy Daniels. Despite Trump's efforts to halt the conviction, including a failed last-ditch appeal to the Supreme Court, he managed to avoid jail or even a fine, as the judge gave him what's called an unconditional discharge. That means he's still a convicted felon, but suffers no other punishment. Even that lucky escape didn't please Donald, however.
And I'd just like to explain that I was treated very, very unfairly, and I thank you very much.
January also saw the previous US President Joe Biden bid farewell to the nation, and he used his final Oval Office speech to issue a stark warning about the risks that lie ahead, driven by social media and misinformation.
Americans are being buried under an avalanche of misinformation and disinformation, enabling the abuse of power. The free press is crumbling. Editors are disappearing. Social media is giving up on fact-checking. The truth is smothered by lies, told for power and for profit.
And as he sat down with Lawrence O'Donnell of MSNBC to reflect on his 50 years in public service, he reiterated that America is facing serious challenges.
I really am concerned about how fragile democracy is. That sounds corny, but I mean, I really am concerned because you've heard me say it 100 times. I really think we're at an inflection point in history here. We're unrelated to any particular leader. Things are going to change drastically.
Monday, the 20th of January, saw Donald Trump sworn in for 4 more years in the White House as America's 47th president. Joe Biden departed the Oval Office with a flurry of precautionary pardons for Dr. Fauci, for head of the Joint Chiefs Mark Milley, and for his own family. It was a strange way to end a presidency, but with threats of revenge from Trump's Republican allies, it seemed a sensible option. The inauguration of Trump took place inside the Capitol building, with tech billionaires placed in the front row, and Trump's cabinet seated behind. He began with the pledge of a new dawn in America.
The golden age of America begins right now. From this day forward, our country will flourish and be respected again all over the world. During every single day of the Trump administration, I will very simply put America first.
The speech featured some of the expected announcements. The Gulf of Mexico is to be renamed. There are now officially only 2 genders in America, and he's planning to seal the border and build a wall. But the tone was also a bit more optimistic than 2016's American carnage, as he promised a new age of expansion for the US.
The United States will once again consider itself a growing nation, one that increases our wealth, expands our territory, builds our cities, raises our expectations, and carries our flag into new and beautiful horizons. And we will pursue our manifest destiny into the stars, launching American astronauts to plant the stars and stripes on the planet Mars.
The early weeks of the Trump presidency turned out to be a whirlwind of executive orders, which either cancelled Joe Biden's previous orders or made grand and dramatic promises, which never seemed to be followed up with actual legislation. The second Trump presidency also saw world leaders queuing up to visit the Oval Office, but the reception could be unpredictable, to say the least. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer made his first official visit at the end of February, and his goal was twofold: to help shift Donald's view on Ukraine away from his original pro-Putin stance, and secondly, to try to avoid Trump's tariffs for the UK economy. He pulled out the big diplomatic guns and presented Trump with a unique personal letter.
It is my pleasure to bring from His Majesty the King. It's an invitation for a second state visit. This is really special. This has never happened before. This is unprecedented.
And that says at Windsor. That's really something.
Yes. What I haven't got yet is your answer.
The answer is yes.
It was a well thought out move which seemed to land with the president, and a warm and positive atmosphere carried through to the press conference. Trump floated the idea of a trade deal with the UK rather than rattling a sabre over sanctions, and reflected on his love of the UK and his Gulf properties.
I have a great warm spot for your country.
And our trade, obviously, is fair and balanced, and in fact, you've got a bit of a surplus, so we're in a different position there. And obviously, we've contributed hugely in relation to Ukraine, and taken together with Europe, there's about 50%
It'll
of what's
work
gone
out.
in.
2025 saw the Tories with a brand new leader, Kemi Badenoch, who was elected in November 2024 after serving as a cabinet minister for both Liz Truss and Rishi Sunak. She said her mission is to reset the public's relationship with the Tories after Reform has experienced a membership surge and has passed out the Tory party in the post-election polling. Badenoch criticised her own party for various mistakes, including leaving the EU without a growth plan, obsessing over immigration numbers and promising net zero emissions by 2050 without a clear plan. She didn't point fingers at who she felt was responsible, but she wasn't shy about criticising Labour's record on the economy and referred to Chancellor Rachel Reeves as Keir Starmer's woman problem. She also made a hopeful promise.
The Conservative Party is under new leadership. From now on, we are going to be telling the British people the truth about the problems we face, and the truth about the actions we must take to get our country out of this mess.
The end of January saw a new row over extremism as part of a Home Office report was leaked to right-wing think tank Policy Exchange. The leak sections suggested that the Home Office is concerned about misogyny, Hindu nationalism and what's referred to as the manosphere as breeding grounds for extremist behaviour. The report also argues that the government should focus on a behaviour-based and ideologically agnostic approach to dealing with extremism, and identified what it calls the manosphere as a crossover between extreme misogyny, right-wing extremism and racist narratives. Prime Minister Keir Starmer said it's important that the government takes a broad view of risks.
I think when it comes to extremism, it's very important that we are focused on the threat so we can deploy our resource properly. And we've got a sort of cohort of loners who are extreme, and they need to be factored in.
The early months of 2025 saw Prime Minister Keir Starmer engaged in a delicate balancing act of diplomacy as he sought to build closer relationships with both European allies and Donald Trump as a tariff war loomed. Starmer hosted German Chancellor Scholz at Chequers, where they discussed their common approach to Ukraine and the Middle East. After talks, they had lunch and a walk around the grounds, with Scholz calling it a sign of their strong relationship. Sir Keir said he's looking to strengthen ties on defence, energy and trade.
I do want a reset of the relationship between the UK and the EU. That does not involve a return to the European Union, but I do want to see a close relationship, and that is what we're working on.
And in February, the PM hit the road, appearing as a special guest at an EU leaders event in Brussels. He found himself in a difficult position, even as the UK marks 5 years since Brexit, as he's vowed that there will be no talk of rejoining the EU. At the same time as Donald Trump cranks up pressure on allies, the UK risks being isolated in a trade war, so Starmer was trying to walk a delicate tightrope when asked which relationship is more important.
If you look at our vital interests, it's really important that we work with both and we don't see it as an either or. This is vitally important. It is in the best interests of the UK, but also the best interests, I think, in terms of global security and defence, that we continue to work both with the US and with Europe on these vital issues.
Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner was in the spotlight in mid-February as she defended herself after she faced criticism over her handling of a meeting with bereaved families and survivors of the Grenfell disaster earlier this month. The government announced that the tower block would be dismantled, but some families say their concerns were ignored and accused her of being aggressive in the meeting.
I certainly don't feel like I was aggressive, and if anyone felt that way, then I would be sincerely upset about that. I think what I tried to do is take a really difficult meeting and explain to people and make sure that those that were bereaved had that information and the survivors had that information before the decision was made public.
She was also pressed on her relationship with PM Sir Keir Starmer, sidestepping a question on whether she'd once texted a colleague that he couldn't run a bath. Asked about Labour's pledge to build 1.5 million new homes in 5 years after figures show approval rates for new developments have dropped and house prices hit record highs since the new government took office, she was insisting she's not giving up.
Within the first month, I was asked, do you want to review what you said in your manifesto around the 1.5 million homes? But I wasn't going to give up on the target, and it's why we're determined to make sure we meet that 1.5 million homes.
As February drew to a close, Labour announced that they delivered on a key election pledge to cut waiting times and deliver 2 million extra appointments across the UK. Waiting lists have now come down 4 months in a row, and Prime Minister Keir Starmer said the news is a real shot in the arm for the NHS.
I said that we would get 2 million extra appointments done, and I'm really pleased that we've done that with 7 months to spare. That is really good. It shows what you can do with a plan that you put into action working with doctors and nurses, NHS staff.
Health Secretary Wes Streeting said the extra appointments were made possible by a new approach to evening and weekend working, and that 31 million operations, appointments and tests were carried out in the period between July and November last year. He was sounding a note of caution though, as this is just one of the 6 steps the government has said will be needed to significantly change the NHS for the better.
I don't want anyone to think we're doing victory laps. There are still massive challenges in the NHS. People are still struggling to get GP appointments, and we've also got big challenges on things like ambulance response times. So I know there are still challenges, a lot done, a hell of a lot more to do.
The start of 2025 saw the world waiting anxiously to see what the arrival of Donald Trump in the White House would mean for Russia's ongoing war in Ukraine. Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov used his annual January press conference in Moscow to try to curry favour with Donald Trump, praising his views on the conflict in Ukraine, which included blaming Joe Biden and NATO for provoking Russia. Lavrov also praised comments from Trump's pick for National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, who had already conceded that Ukraine can't expect to drive Russian forces from every inch of Ukrainian soil. The Russians certainly appeared open to the idea of engaging in talks with Trump.
When President Trump, when he becomes president and takes office, comes up with his clear position on Ukrainian matters. We definitely will study and entertain that.
Late January saw some shocking news on the number of casualties that Russia may have experienced in 2024 in Putin's war in Ukraine. Ukrainian Armed Forces Commander-in-Chief Alexander Syrsky said on Monday that Russia had suffered over 430,000 casualties in the last 12 months, including 150,000 deaths. The numbers are higher than Western analysts estimated, and the commander didn't offer any Ukrainian casualty figures. But former US Ambassador Kurt Volker says that it's a reflection of the toll the war has taken on Russia.
They don't have enough soldiers, they don't have enough equipment, and they're not making much ground. And I think Trump putting the pressure on Putin to stop the war will probably produce some results this year.
Mid-February saw Donald Trump announce that he had a long and productive call with Russian President Putin and that America and Russia would begin negotiations to end Russia's war in Ukraine. It wasn't clear on what basis the negotiations would take place, but it probably didn't help that new US Secretary of Defense, former Fox News host Pete Hegseth, appeared to immediately make concessions to Russia at his first NATO meeting in Brussels.
We want, like you, a sovereign and prosperous Ukraine. But we must start by recognizing that returning to Ukraine's pre-2014 borders is an unrealistic objective.
He also ruled out Ukraine joining NATO. Ukrainian President Zelensky said that he had spoken to President Trump and was sounding more optimistic about achieving what he called a real peace. The first round of those talks between Russia and the United States took place in Saudi Arabia as both countries appeared keen to reset their relationship and pledged to continue high-level discussions on topics including the war in Ukraine. Russia made no concessions and showed no sign of making any, as American Secretary of State Marco Rubio explained that his boss wants a deal, as he denied any suggestions that Ukraine had been refused a seat at the table.
No one is being sidelined here, but President Trump is in a position that he campaigned on to initiate a process that could bring about an end to this conflict. And from that could emerge some very positive things for the United States, for Europe, for Ukraine, for the world.
The prospect of Russia and the US agreeing to any deal without Ukrainian involvement horrified European allies. In response to the American and Russian talks in Riyadh, French President Macron called an emergency summit of EU leaders on Monday, which UK PM Keir Starmer attended. Ukrainian President Zelensky was put in a really difficult position trying to placate Trump while also fending off Putin, and he spoke to NBC on Sunday night about the importance of US support. With Zelensky unwilling to accept any US-Russian deal if Ukraine is not part of the discussion, European allies have spent the week trying to deliver a coherent plan.
Probably it will be very, very difficult. And of course, in all the difficult situations, you have a chance. But we will have a low chance to survive without support of the United States.
Apart from the war in Ukraine, there was some progress on the war in Gaza during the early months of 2025. Mid-January saw hopes of a ceasefire deal in Gaza inching closer as all sides appear to have come to an agreement. But as always in these matters, it took considerable manoeuvring before a final deal was acceptable to all sides. The proposed deal was negotiated in Doha and involved 33 Israeli hostages to be released by Hamas in return for the release of 1,000 Palestinian prisoners. A phased pullback of Israeli troops would follow, along with new security arrangements and the chance for residents to return to their homes, while more aid will flow into the Gaza Strip. The Prime Minister of Qatar, Mohammed bin Abdulrahman Al Thani, made the announcement at 7 p.m. on Wednesday evening that there would be a formal ceasefire between Hamas and Israel.
With the approval of both sides, in order to finalize all executive measures for tonight. And after that, the Israeli government will be taking the internal measures, after which the agreement will enter into effect on Sunday, January 19th.
Donald Trump was quick to claim credit, but the deal was due to come into effect on January 19th, the day before he takes over, and the US President Joe Biden held a press conference to ensure that his own place in history was secured. The prospect of a move to end the ongoing conflict had been widely welcomed, with UK PM Keir Starmer taking time out of a visit to Kyiv on Thursday to emphasise the importance of getting the deal across the line.
The ceasefire is very welcome. It'll be a huge relief to hostages and their families. And this must be used, obviously, to get through the various stages, but also as a path to a lasting peace.
Prime Minister Netanyahu said early on Friday that he was now happy with the hostage deal, although it's not clear what the issue was. So over 15 months since the conflict began, a ceasefire in Gaza finally took effect on Sunday 19th of January. The three-phase agreement started with a 6-week truce and the release of Israeli hostages from Gaza in exchange for Palestinian prisoners being held by Israel. It'll also see Israeli forces begin to withdraw from Gaza and more humanitarian aid flowing into the Strip. For more than 2 million Palestinians in Gaza, it was a much-needed reprieve, but it almost didn't happen at all, with Israeli PM Netanyahu threatening to pull out during talks at the last minute.
If we need to resume fighting, we will do that in new ways, and we will do it with great force. Both Trump and Biden gave full backing to Israel's right to return to fighting, if Israel concludes that these negotiations are fruitless.
Apart from starting tariff wars, Donald Trump also caused chaos in early February in the Middle East. Speaking before a visit from Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu, Trump signed an executive order which will see the US withdraw from the UN Human Rights Council and also withdraw funding from the UN's Palestinian Refugee Agency. Then at a press conference, he made a shock announcement.
The US will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it too. We'll own it, do a real job, do something different. Just can't go back. If you go back, it's going to end up the same way it has for 100 years.
The plan, which seemed to involve moving the Palestinian population to Egypt and Jordan, would then see US troops clear the rubble and make the area safe for development. It was immediately condemned as ethnic cleansing, with Democratic Senator Chris Coons describing the idea as insane. Saudi Arabia released a statement reaffirming their support for the establishment of a Palestinian state, and protesters gathered outside the White House. Trump acknowledged there will be resistance, but appears to believe Egypt and Jordan will offer support for Palestinian refugees.
I don't want to be a wise guy, but the Riviera of the Middle East, this could be something that could be so bad. This could be so magnificent. I have a feeling that the king in Jordan and that the general in Egypt will open their hearts and will give us the kind of land that we need to get this done.
Trump's sudden proposal to have US troops take over Gaza didn't get the reaction the US president might have hoped for on Wednesday. The plan drew condemnation from almost all sides, and UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer called for a more compassionate approach.
They must be allowed home. They must be allowed to rebuild, and we should be with them in that rebuild on the way to a two-state solution.
Still to come on the Standout 7 in association with Metro, Los Angeles faces wildfires and some high-profile resignations.
Right after this.
Hey, I'm Jamie East, and today's episode of the Smart 7 is brought to you by Sainsbury's, where you can save big on festive favourites with nectar prices. With Christmas just around the corner, it's more important than ever to find value for money on your festive shop. And if you want to be the host or hostess with the mostess, you need Christmas magic from Sainsbury's. That means great discounts to make your festive season truly magical. For example, this week you can get 3 for 2 on all Sainsbury's party food with nectar prices, including taste the difference treats like 8 mini Wagyu beef cheeseburgers, 8 crispy chicken bao buns, or 12 crispy mushroom tartlets. You can shop in-store or online and save big on festive favourites this Christmas with nectar prices at Sainsbury's. That's good food for all of us. This offer's for 18 plus, terms and conditions apply. Offer ends 31st of December, 3 for 2 on all Sainsbury's party food, cheapest product free. Nectar required, available in-store and online, excluding locals. Delivery fees may apply and subject to availability.
I am a coach and an alum of Girls on the Run. Kids today carry a lot of stress, from school pressure to social isolation to overuse of devices. We create a space where girls can connect, build confidence, and learn skills like managing emotions, setting goals, and speaking up. Each child's experience is different, and families need support. I'm proud to be part of a comprehensive solution to youth mental health. Get involved today at empowerourfuturecoalition.com.
Welcome back.
Early January saw devastating wildfires sweep through Los Angeles, forcing tens of thousands of people to evacuate their homes, and at least 6 separate fires sweep through California's biggest city. The largest fire in the Palisades district of the west of Los Angeles destroyed over 1,100 homes, and initial reports suggested at least 25 deaths, with several well-known names including Paris Hilton, Billy Crystal, Adam Brody and James Woods seeing their homes go up in flames. Margaret Stewart is the LA Fire Department spokesperson, and she said the speed and strength of the fires has been surprising.
We don't have any containment at this point, so we have firefighters defending as many homes as we're able to.
There were very different reactions from the current and future presidents of the US. Joe Biden held a press conference in Santa Monica with Governor Gavin Newsom and declared a major disaster, while also pledging firefighting support from the Department of Defense. Trump, however, tweeted about the governor, calling him Gavin Newscum and blaming the fire on poor management of the state's resources. The governor responded from the scene.
People are literally fleeing. People have lost their lives. Kids lost their schools. Families completely torn asunder. Churches burned down. This guy wanted to politicize it. I have a lot of thoughts and I know what I want to say. I won't.
Difficulties with the water tank system in the Palisades were amplified by conspiracy theorists, but Mayor of Los Angeles Karen Bass said there's no truth to rumours that budget cuts or systemic water shortages played a part in the spread of the fires.
There were no reductions that were made that would have impacted the situation that we were dealing with over the last couple of days. Money was allocated to be distributed later on.
Tens of thousands of people were evacuated and millions of dollars rolled in from the Fire Relief Fund, including $2.5 million from Beyonce, whose mother's Malibu house was destroyed. Countries across the world have been offering support and firefighting personnel, but there was also an unexpected offer from embattled Ukrainian President Zelensky.
Today, I instructed Ukraine's Minister of Internal Affairs to prepare for the possibility of the participation of our rescuers in combating the wildfires in California. The situation there is extremely challenging, and Ukrainians can help Americans to protect lives.
Many famous names lost their homes, including reality TV stars Heidi Montag and Spencer Pratt. They spoke to Good Morning America and said it's been really hard to get life for their family back on track.
It's a place that you love, and to have that be gone is a really difficult concept to continue to daily deal with.
I feel like a ghost. I don't have a single photo now before an iPhone existed. They're all gone.
2024 saw a huge amount of political turbulence across the globe as elections across the world saw dramatic swings and shifts in the balance of power. And 2025 started out in much the same way, with January seeing a shock resignation. After almost 10 years as the leader of the Liberal Party, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau resigned and announced he wouldn't lead the party into the October election. He was the longest serving leader of the G7, but poor poll numbers and a number of scandals helped to make up his mind. Donald Trump greeted the news by restating his proposal that Canada become the US 51st state. Trudeau spoke to the media in Ottawa.
So last night over dinner, I told my kids about the decision that I'm sharing with you today. I intend to resign as party leader, as Prime Minister, after the party selects its next leader through a robust, nationwide, competitive process.
Trudeau wasn't the only big name to call it a day. Early in 2025, as Sky News celebrated 36 years of rolling news, there was a surprise for viewers. As seemingly out of the blue, Kay Burley announced her retirement. She'd been on air since 1989 and on The Breakfast Show since 2019, but has decided the time is right to hang up her scalpel and do something else. She covered almost every major news event from the death of Princess Diana to 9/11 to 12 general elections, and now she plans to spend more time travelling, apparently. And as she signed off, it turned out she's been keeping a close eye on the time too.
After over 1 million minutes of live TV news, more than anyone else in the world, it's time for me to indulge in some of my other passions, including my love for travel. So, after covering 12 separate general elections, I'm retiring from Sky News. Let politicians of every party just rejoice at that news.
January is, of course, awards season, with the first out of the traps, the 82nd Golden Globes. This year's ceremony was hosted by comedian Nikki Glaser, making history as the first solo female host, and featured 2 Lifetime Achievement Awards, one for Viola Davis and one for Ted Danson. Veteran actress Demi Moore won Best a Performance by a Female Actor in a Movie, her first ever major award.
And so today I celebrate this as a marker of my wholeness and of the love that is driving me, and for the gift of doing something I love and being reminded that I do belong. Thank you so much.
There was disappointment for some big names, with Daniel Craig and Timothée Chalamet missing out, but there were also wins for Baby Reindeer and star Jessica Gunning. Demi Moore and Zoe Saldana, along with Adrian Brody and Kieran Culkin, picked up the major acting awards and look set for potential Oscar glory. Colin Farrell won for Best Performance in The Penguin, and the Batman director Matt Reeves had good news on the red carpet for the Dubliner.
Well, we are talking about doing another season. Lauren and Dylan and I and Colin are talking about what we would do, and it's really about coming up with the right idea and also about the timing. We're doing the Batman Part 2, and so how all of that fits together. But we're really excited about doing another season, and we just have to figure out exactly the right idea.
After the LA fires, there were doubts over whether it would happen, but the 67th Annual Grammy Awards took place without a hitch in LA in early February. This year's event looked a little different, doubling as a fundraiser for victims of the recent LA wildfires, which destroyed over 16,000 homes and businesses, including those of some celebrities in attendance. Kendrick Lamar was the biggest winner, picking up 5 awards for his Drake diss track, Not Like Us. Beyoncé won Best Album for the first time and Best Country Album for Cowboy Carter, and there were wins for Sabrina Carpenter, Lady Gaga and Bruno Mars, along with a double win for Charli XCX. Taylor Swift and Billie Eilish both went home empty-handed, while Chapel Rowan picked up Best New Artist. She used her speech to call out the record label for the way they treat artists.
Thank you, all who listened. Record labels need to treat their artists as valuable employees with a livable wage and health insurance and protection. Labels, we got you, but do you got us? The 78 BAFTA Awards took place in mid-February in London, hosted once again by David Tennant. There was a star-packed crowd in attendance, including the cast of Wicked, Demi Moore, Irish favourites Kneecap, Selena Gomez, Coleman Domingo and many more. Warwick Davis was awarded a BAFTA Fellowship, while Conclave, the papal thriller starring Ralph Fiennes, started the night with 12 nominations and it won 4, including Best Film. The Brutalist also picked up 4, but Demi Moore will be surprised to have lost out as Best Actress to Mikey Madison for Enora. Emilia Perez, which has struggled with controversy, won only 2 awards, Best Film, not in the English language, and Best Supporting Actress for Zoe Saldana, who had a special dedication for her award.
To my nephew, Eli, he is the reason, they are the reason I signed up to do this film in the first place. So as a proud aunt of a trans life, I will always stand with my community of trans people.
You've been listening to The Smart 7. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. Hit that follow button and have a great day. Give us 7 minutes and we'll give you the world. Hey, I'm Jamie East, and today's episode of The Smart 7 is brought to you by Sainsbury's, where you can save big on festive favourites with Nectar prices. With Christmas just around the corner, it's more important than ever to find value for money on your festive shop. And if you want to be the host or hostess with the mostess, you need Christmas magic from Sainsbury's. That means great discounts to make your festive season truly magical. For example, this week you can get 3 for 2 on all Sainsbury's party food with Nectar prices, including taste the difference treats like 8 mini Wagyu beef cheeseburgers, 8 crispy chicken bayo buns, or 12 crispy mushroom tartlets. You can shop in-store or online and save big on festive favourites this Christmas with Nectar prices at Sainsbury's. That's good food for all of us. This offer's for 18 plus, terms and conditions apply. Offer ends 31st of December, 3 for 2 on all Sainsbury's party food, cheapest product free. Nectar required, available in-store and online, excluding locals. Delivery fees may apply and subject to availability.
I am a coach and an alum of Girls on the Run. Kids today carry a lot of stress, from school pressure to social isolation to overuse of devices. We create a space where girls can connect, build confidence, and learn skills like managing emotions, setting goals, and speaking up. Each child's experience is different, and families need support. I'm proud to be part of a comprehensive solution to youth mental health. Get involved today at EmpowerOurFutureCoalition.com.